Hello YouTube, Jacob here, and today we're going to address some of the arguments and criticisms made against my video, which I call Why Atheism is Self-Defeating. Alright? But before I do that, I want to address some of your criticisms as to why I don't look directly at the camera. And the main reason why I don't look directly at the camera is because I simply like to look at how I look when I talk to you guys, okay? The second reason is because my camera is at a weird angle and I feel a little bit uncomfortable looking directly at it. Alright? And it's not because I have notes. I do not carry notes in my videos. Just whenever I think, my eyes tend to roll back and forth every now and then. But no, it has nothing to do with notes. Alright? Which is just off topic, something off topic to talk about. But let's get straight to the argument. Alright? So, in my video, which I call Why Atheism is Self-Defeating, I argue why concepts like free will, logic, and reason make more sense in a theist worldview than they do in an atheist worldview. In this video, I'm not arguing for why God exists. That is just a straw man. Alright, I was not arguing for why God exists in this video, just why these concepts are more logical or make more sense in a theist's worldview. Alright? So, one of the biggest arguments made against my video is that if we have free will, alright, or if we have a spirit, why is it that whenever someone receives brain injuries, why is it that their personality changes, alright? And for this video, just letting you know, I do have some notes, but not always, alright? A lot of my videos are made on the spot. But why is it that people who have experienced brain injuries have also experienced changes in their personality? Okay. Well, the main reason is because, alright, in a theist worldview, with the concept of there being a God, these bodies are much like, think of it as a body of a robot or a body of an AI. Alright. And you're the host, you're the controller of this AI. Alright. So, let's say you have a remote control and you're controlling this robot, alright, which represents a human body. Now, when a bolt or something in that system breaks, even though you're still there, that system malfunctions. Even though you're still there trying to control it, you can no longer control that system. Alright? And another something else to add to this is that we do not believe the spirit to be eternal. It's a created entity. The spirit is a created entity. For some reason, someone in my video said that if the spirit was eternal, then it would somehow relate to it being able to maintain some kind of knowledge that it always had received, or I don't know what he was trying to say, but just putting that out there. So let's go to the second topic here, and it says, does the complexity of chemical reactions affect their inherent or intrinsic value? Alright, so does the complexity of chemicals, right, the chemicals that are in our heads, do they affect their intrinsic or inherent value? Do they somehow correlate to a gradual moving towards allowing us to better discern what is true, or to it having any more intrinsic value? Alright, so to say that complexity has anything to do with it having any value is incoherent. I mean, there is no relation to complexity and it having more value. Alright, and chemicals cannot justify chemicals. I mean, chemicals cannot justify themselves as to having value. Alright, so there is no logical connection there. There just simply is no logical connection between something being complex and it having more value. Alright, a computer could be very complex, but to some people it could have no value at all. Alright, I mean, there's native tribes who try to stay away from computers, which are very complex, and don't consider them to have any value at all, right? Because they take away from, you know, their social society, right? And many people, you know, blame these complex systems for why the world is the way it is today, with, you know, people not being open to conversation, or, you know, their minds are more occupied with this technology. All right, so the idea of complexity leading to more value is entirely subjective for the most part. All right. So, and then the second thing I said was, how can we claim that the more complex something automatically, or that the more complex something is, automatically means that it is gradually moving towards allowing us to better discern what is true? All right. So does complexity mean that it is gradually growing to becoming better observers of truth? Okay. Does being more complex, you know, growing in complexity, move towards being able to observe truth? And how do you make this assumption? How do you make this jump from it being complex to it being having value, and to it being able to observe truth? So what I say, or what I'm arguing, is complexity does not equate to the ability to discern truth unless there is an objective truth that's already there waiting to be discerned. Okay? So complexity does not have is not growing towards being able to discern truth, or growing towards not being able to discern truth, unless there is a standard of truth for it to grow into, or for it to be able to observe. So the third point is, the godless engineer doesn't argue for truth claims. All right, he doesn't argue that truth is really true. He just agrees with me in saying that truth is presupposed. Okay, we just presuppose that something is true. He simply agrees that we simply must presuppose that everything we discern is true. All right, so let's go to my last point here, and that's that atheists are religious fanatics, whether they believe it or not. Okay, because any worldview that claims that something ought to be, you know, that there's ought to be in the world, is religious. It isn't based on facts. The idea of being able to bring someone to justice for what they ought to have done, or for what they ought to not have done, is completely religious, based on belief and not facts. Right? But like Buddhism, atheists just don't want to acknowledge a creator, but is completely based on religiosity. All right, guys. So I hope you focus on the arguments I present here in my video. All right, and instead of focusing on my appearance, or perhaps on how I talk, I'd only hope that you focus on what's being said here. All right, guys. So you guys have a blessed day, and take care.